What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Cytotoxin, entitled Nuklearth. This is released on Unique Leader Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Chemnitz, Saxony, Germany, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very brutal, technical, Chernobyl-influenced style of death metal. Yeah. My first introduction to this band was their 2012 sophomoric effort entitled Radiophobia. I had been seeing and hearing a lot of my YouTube metal colleagues back at the time hype this album up. And upon listening to this thing, I totally understood and realized why this was gaining so much traction. From the crazy artwork to the technical, wheedly-deedly sort of sounds you heard from the guitars, the blast beats, the guttural vocals, the imagery, the lyrics, the themes. You could tell that this was a band that was all about it. Even going back to their 2011 debut, Plutonium Heaven, you could tell that this band was just slowly starting to get their feet wet into the realms of extreme metal. And of course, with that album and the aforementioned Radiophobia, we got a glimpse of what Cytotoxin were all about. Very high energy, very high amounts of charisma, just a very well put together sort of package here. The last time we had heard something from Cytotoxin was back in 2017 with their third full-length, Gamageddon. Pretty much, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, was the sort of mentality for that particular record. And that album was very, very solid in its own particular rights. And now into 2020, how appropriate is it that we have the newest full-length from Cytotoxin entitled Nuklearth? It's 11 tracks, and it clocks in at around 44 minutes in length, and pretty much, if you're familiar with this band's style, sound, and delivery, you'll feel right at home with what this album has to offer. Pretty much the same sort of merciless, high-end sort of technicality comes full circle here with Nuklearth, and you hear it upon the opening moments of the song A Tomb, and then later on throughout this album. It's just more of what you know and come to expect out of Cytotoxin, and I think for the most part, I think this is a very impressive technical brutal death metal record. Musically, these guys know exactly what they're doing, and they create some very, very superb sort of music going on here. From the guitar playing to the technical, loud bass tones, I just think there's just a lot of stuff to be heard that is very enjoyable. The riffs, the leads, the solos, the small bass solos that you hear in certain parts, to even the bass drops when it comes to the more breakdown elements of this album. I think it's really, really killer. I mean, you heard it on some of the lead-off singles from this album, like Lupus Aurora and Dominus, but then again, you have songs like Soul Harvester and Coast of Lies. You really get some of this band's smarter and more intelligent musicianship efforts going on here when it comes to the guitar and the bass work. Very, very merciless, very technical, and almost effortless to a sense. The drumming on here is very, very awesome. That's something else that makes Cytotoxin stand out, is the fast-paced drumming. I love how the snare tone sounds. It's fantastic. The fills, the blast beats, just very high energy and high chaos. Once again, mentioning the breakdown elements of this album, you get a lot of those drum-bass sort of slow-paced breakdown parts in certain moments of this album, but when things kick up and become a lot faster, that's when this drummer gets back to being quick-witted and knowing exactly what he's doing. I think it's a really strong drum performance here. And when it comes to the vocals, of course, Grimo, being the frontman of this band, having done the things that he's done, be as commanding and as charismatic as he always has been, he always stands out and makes you want to pay attention to everything that's going on, whether it be his stage presence, whether it be the way he sounds, the way he delivers his lyrics. It's just an overall fantastic vocal performance here. And here on Nuklearth, it's another really top-notch vocal performance, very guttural, very well articulated, very understandable. I'm almost sensing a bit of a Travis Ryan feeling going on here when it comes to his vocals. I'm getting that early to mid 2004, 2006 era Travis Ryan sounds going on his vocals, which I think is really, really nice. I think Grimo has his own sort of distinctive vocal stylings, but that's just something I noticed when I listened to Nuklearth. I think it's a really cool thing to notice, in my opinion. And on the track Soul Harvester, he does some vocal work with Elliot of the band Beneath the Massacre. Of course, you recognize Elliot's voice right away on that song. I think it's very, very awesome. And on the track Quarantine Fortress, you have Ben from what I think is one of the best current deathcore bands going right now with Shadow of Intent. You hear his vocal style right away, and I think he does a tremendous job doing some back and forth sorts of work with Grimo here as far as Ben's vocals are concerned. But as far as Grimo's vocals are concerned, I think that's another really top-notch highlight of this album. So overall, this is a really, really top-notch piece of brutal technical death metal. If you are into what Cytotoxin have put out in the past, I definitely think you're going to enjoy this album a lot. Of course, there's going to be a lot of stuff to take in when it comes to the overall feelings and energy you get from listening to this album, whether it be fast riffs, fast blast beats, bass drop breakdowns, guttural vocals. This album has a lot to offer, and I definitely think it's good to have Cytotoxin back up and running and doing their thing like they know how to do. So, if I did think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say A Tomb, Lupus Aurora, Uran Breath, Drown in Havoc, Soul Harvester, Quarantine Fortress, some really top-notch tracks on this album. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you some links in the description box as how you can get hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Unique Leader Records Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it, buy it digitally, and it's available physically as a CD and 12-inch vinyl. I will leave you links to those available, whatever happens to be available to order right now. So, again, the album is Nuklearth by Cytotoxin. This is released on Unique Leader Records. Definitely check this one out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a pretty solid 8.5 out of 10. Another really top-notch Cytotoxin record. I'm glad these guys are back up and running again. If you've happened to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it, how you feel about it, and how do you think it compares to previous Cytotoxin releases, or any of you guys into Cytotoxin, definitely let me know. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until the next time, Armijo out.